Did I miss something?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. So the bad news is it's hopeless. And the good news is it's hopeless. Yay! I guess we could say we're meeting here for something that's not worth talking about, that can't be mentioned. And the only reason we're meeting is because there's something searching for it. And the reason it can't find it is because it's all there is. So freedom, peace, contentment, bliss, forgiveness, peace, contentment is already everything. And it just so happens that amid this everything, there arises a sense of someone or something. And that someone, when it arises, has the impression, the feeling, the experience of being separate from everything else. It arises in two stages, really. It arises as first here, and then you get I am here. And I am here means that everything that's happening is happening to here or this that's here. In reality, everything is empty and there is no story. When I arise, or me or the self, whatever you call it, suddenly everything is no longer empty. Everything is full with something like meaning, purpose, intention, hope, of which there isn't any. So basically, this I that arises is searching for what is already the case. It's searching for this. That's the hopelessness of the situation for I. Is it searching for what already is? In reality, I is also that which is looked for. It's not like the I is separate from everything. The I is also perfection. The I, the self, the me. And what that means is everything that's happening, and that includes everything, is exactly what's looked for. All there is that. All there is this. This is freedom. This is liberation. Or there is no freedom. There is no liberation. Now, when we talk about this, what happens is the I will incessantly, undoubtedly think a couple of things. One of them is that when it finds this, which it won't, that'll be a gain. And when I tell you that it's a loss, what the I will think is that the loss is going to be a gain. It's going to get something. It can't imagine loss. It has no idea what that means. Because what it's trying to do is imagine a reality without itself. It wants to find the thing that makes its life so difficult. So in other words, it wants to know this, what is. And that's exactly where it loses, because this is already it, and it's unknowable. It's very simple. I find it very simple. The cup. This is a cup, right? But it's not really, is it? It's a cup. The word cup isn't what this is. The word cup is the level on which we communicate with each other. It's a concept. But in reality, this is just simply what it is. It's completely indescribable. It's too immediate. It's too real. And that's true with everything. It's too immediate. It's too real. It's too what is to know. Knowing isn't a problem. Knowing just something else that arises, like cup. The me will always try to change or say that cup is the problem. There shouldn't be cup. I should only know that which is unknowable. Back in the circle. The fact is, it is a cup. And it's unknowable at the same time. It's both. There's no separation. This is unknowable while appearing to be a part of a story. This is everything while appearing to be something particular. This is the timeless while appearing to be in time. Everything fits. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing that needs to happen. And we can talk about that, if you like. Or not. No, really, you can ask questions, but all we'll really be doing is illuminating the trap of the I, the trap of trying to know something that's unknowable. This is probably the most dangerous meeting in New York at the moment. Because there's nothing that can be done to find what is being spoken about here. But there's also nothing that can be done to stop it. There's no one separate from everything to do it. And in the end, there's no one.
What's the danger?
Huh?
So what are we doing here?
Well, there's no we. There's no meaning or purpose to anything. So the story that appears, the sense of separate self has the feeling that it has to have meaning and purpose. That it had to come from somewhere and it has to go somewhere. When that sense of separate self falls away, there's just the recognition that what appears is without meaning and purpose. It just happens. And in the end, it's recognized that absolutely nothing ever happens. It's completely unique.
And nothing ever happened part. I'm always too embarrassed to ask Tony about that one. I can ask you, Jim.
Yeah, he'll say,
Because, there's always the story. Like, I apparently flew in a plane and transferred to Toronto and came down yesterday. So it seemed to happen. Although it's only happening now as a memory, it's not really happening. But there's something there which you can't, I guess we'll never find, we'll never figure out.
I don't know what the question is.
But that nothing ever happened. It appeared that I was in a plane yesterday flying from Western Canada over to Toronto and down. It appeared that happened.
Yeah?
When we say nothing happened, there's a big was on here. It appeared to happen.
Exactly.
But somehow it didn't happen.
Well, it appeared to. The problem for the separate I is it has an investment and the reality of the story. Because it lives in that story. If that story isn't real, it isn't. So it can't do anything with the reality that the story is and isn't. What's being shared here has nothing to do with getting rid of time, getting rid of a story, or getting rid of I. What it does is it leaves everything as it is. It just takes away the false, the false assumption that the I makes about what is, and that is that it's exclusively real. It's all cup and unnameable at the same time. It all is and isn't at the same time. So the memory of you coming here in a plane, you're right, it doesn't prove that you came here in a plane, but it's a memory of you coming here. That's an appearance. When I say appearance, it means it is and it isn't. So it's empty.
Then it's the isn't part.
That's right.
So that's incomprehensible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just simply what it is, completely incomprehensible. That's completely incomprehensible. But what the cup is literally everything.
That's also incomprehensible.
Everything, what's happening, is completely incomprehensible. It's unknown. Appearing as, the known, as what's happening. Appearing as a memory of coming over in a plane.
Yeah. It's like the cup is and it's the isn't part that it isn't. As a separate individual, you can never see that it isn't. You can only see that it isn't.
Nobody ever sees that it isn't.
Nobody sees.
No. Nobody knows. Yeah. Nobody knows unknowing.
Yeah. That's the problem. It's not something the problem. It's just
it is the problem for me.
It's more a problem for me. It's just what is.
Me wants to know unknowing.
Yeah. Me wants to know.
Wants to know it's not there.
And here we are in a classroom with all the learning, everything we've learned.
I know, isn't it ironic?
Yes.
In a classroom with no one to teach and nothing to be taught.
My dream come true.
So I know it's just a story, but I'd be interested to know what your story was that brought you to the place of this story and the eye collapsing.
There's always sort of two ways to answer that. If I told you my story, you'll think that it has meaning and purpose, which it doesn't. Because in the end, what's recognized is it didn't happen. Nothing causes the appearance of the eye to disappear, to stop appearing. Because nothing caused it to appear. It's completely impersonal. It's just something that happens, or it seems to happen.
I kind of got that part from earlier, but I still feel inclined to, no, but I mean, you want to share it with me.
What my story is. That it really is a non-happening. What's recognized is that there never was anyone there. And for no reason. I think the only time people ask questions like that, it's because they hope to find something that'll help. And it's hopeless. There is a story. You can think about it another way. There is a story
Right.
But it is, and it sound, if I told you about it, and I don't even remember it, you know, but if I told you about it, it would sound like a process. And to me, everything is a process. To the separate sense of self, everything is a process. Until nothing is happening, until it goes, and there's no longer, it's recognized that there was no process.
Yeah. For me, I'd say, at least in my parent process, because I know it seems as if there's like layers of an onion type situation.
Yeah, totally.
And it feels to me like, let's say the onion was fully peeled, and I found myself sitting on a chair, and someone was asking me a question.
Yeah.
It feels like on one level, if all the layers on the onion were peeled, then I could say there is no onion. But at the same time, that would be true from that context, but not the
Yeah.
other context.
Totally. Yeah. And that's the misconception that me has, that it's really real. That there really is a me. And so there really is a me to talk to. And a me can really do something about its situation. And what's recognized is there never was an onion. There never was a me. And the me could never have done anything about its situation.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there was never any need for it to do anything. Because it's already exactly as it should be. It's only the separate sense of I that thinks that something needs to happen. That's its trap. But it is an absolute perfect expression of what is, of unconditional love. It is that. It is paradise. It is heaven. Oh, this is paradise. With whatever is arising. Nothing helps.
Right, I feel like I fully get that intellectually, because I've listened to a lot of Tony Parsons, and actually was saw him in Europe earlier in the year, and like there's no, like he says, you know, clarity and liberation are two different things. So even fully getting that, probably maybe on some level there is some feeling that maybe I could say something, and maybe you'll have some response, and although there's already intellectual clarity,
Yeah.
there's nothing that can get, something you say perhaps could trigger the dropping away of a separate self, even though, but that would just be what's happening as opposed to cause and effect, but it only
You're really describing the story of me.
Right.
Something's going to work.
Right.
Either it's going to be religion, therapy, yoga, white rice, something's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I guess that feeling never goes away until it
Until it
does.
does. Until it
Until it
does,
does.
exactly.
Right.
So we're back to hopeless.
Hopeless. But hopeless has such a negative connotation. But if you think about it, hope is never what is. It's always what will be, which is really sort of a prison. So hope's not really what it promises itself to be. Hopeless is really good news.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's already hopeless.
Phew.
Yeah. We can all go home now.
Would you say there's an energetic component to it? Because I know one of the things.
It's purely energetic.
Purely energetic, right? So there's nothing you can do, but somehow.
But it's not really, there's nothing you can do.
I know the little slice of, like subtle distinctions even.
It's not very subtle, actually. It actually is the cornerstone of the rarest message out there.
Right.
There's no one. Because as soon as there's someone that's real, then there's something that they can do. Which of course creates the separation, creates a duality.
no one in New York who really communicates this. I mean, besides you, temporary, during your visit, no.
So it's not like somebody's asking a question, like the sounds are coming? Like, when the question happens, it just happens?
Absolutely, like everything else.
So you have no control then of anything?
No one does. No, there is no such thing as control. Which scares the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm. But then it means you don't have to worry about anything at the same time.
That would be nice if I could do it, if the me could do that.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing to worry about. Because there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
No me, no problem.
What's that?
No me, no problem.
No me, no problem. There you go. Although problems might arise.
Is there something that moves in you to speak to people, to come here? You got on the plane. Someone
What
say,
you're asking me is my story real? Is the story that brought me here real? And the answer is no. It didn't happen. It only appeared to happen.
I'm experiencing this sort of freedom and like I'm in an insane asylum. It's a sort of this ease and calm, and then madness of like crashing.
Yeah.
And I want ease. I don't want it to be. I'm so driven by this purpose that I do with my days, and if I really get what's going on now, then I might get on the next plane with you and not know where I'm going.
Well, see, you have nothing to worry about because you'll never get it.
Never what?
You'll never get it. Me can't get that there's nothing to get.
You said something.
There's no reason for anything.
So Jim, no desire arises there to tell us to anybody, unless someone like
To
Joy.
tell this?
No,
No.
unless someone like Joy calls up and says, come over and talk to us group of people. There's absolutely zero.
Exactly. It's actually quite surprising how nothing there is about it here, unless it somehow comes up.
Yeah. Day to day in Vienna there, riding a bike, going to the shop, it just never comes up. No.
It's a loss.
So what?
It's a loss.
Yeah.
It's as easy as losing your keys.
Yeah.
Try doing that. Oh, it's great.
Like with all these religious things going on, no thought even comes up, man, if they didn't have that story, that belief, and that wouldn't be happening, that doesn't come up for you at all.
In what sense? You're
In
talking
what
about
sense
what?
with people doing all sorts of things for a belief in a system or a belief in an external being and all that? That doesn't, when you see that happen, that doesn't come up saying, well, they didn't have that.
Well,
It didn't
I
have
mean,
that story, didn't have that story.
the judgment of the story
Yeah,
is the me
yeah.
that has a story, right? With meaning and purpose, which is right and wrong. And so I'm trying to be a good person so that I'll get what I'm looking for. I'll find happiness is what it's looking for. And so it uses, or it part of that story is judging everyone else according to what I think being that good person and getting what I trying to become happy has to do. That's the me story.
Yeah.
So that's where judgment comes from, because it's what I think is right and wrong. That's where right and wrong comes from. And so that does drop. That just dies. Because there's no need to judge anyone in that way.
Jim, you said something earlier that was stirring. You said nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Can you say some more about that?
This is nothing happened. Exactly.
Wow.
You can't get it. It's just that way. It's just an absolute explosion of nothing. This is nothing exploding and appearing as everything. It's completely empty. That's why it's so amazing, so awesome.
Like you said, it's the cup.
Exactly.
It's just no meaning at all.
No,
It's amazing.
I know.
It's absolutely amazing.
It's utterly amazing. That's where the amazement comes from. No meaning and purpose, and everything is just what it is.
Doesn't say
And because it
anything.
doesn't have to be anything,
Mhm.
the fact that it is just mind-blowing.
It
Yeah.
truly is. Truly mind-blowing. It's amazing.
It's just awesome.
It's crazy.
It is. It's totally crazy.
It's just nuts. Wow.
It is obvious to us when you walk in the forest or you see a cat or a dog or a tree, there's absolutely no meaning or purpose to that tree or that cat or that dog or that car sitting on the street. But we take ourselves so differently. Then we apparently see everything else out there. How could there be meaning for a tree or a dog or a cat?
It is very beautiful that that could happen too. To have those stories are really amazing that they can even happen. That's really amazing. There's this whole meaning when there's no meaning.
So I think that's almost the most amazing part, that how all this meaning is created. When
Yeah, it's
It's pretty
amazing.
obvious even to this, all the other things.
So that's the one thing about the me, is it really thinks that what's happening is like really big.
Yeah.
Like it's this really big thing that's really going on. And when it dies, when it falls away, it's not worth mentioning. It's like the most unimportant thing that ever happened. It's like the fart you forgot a couple of years ago. Except the fart really happened. He never did.
But you don't have to try to stay here. You don't have to try to stay here, because that's like seeking something. You know?
There is no here.
Mhm.
There isn't a here. Here is a story.
Same with now.
Absolutely. For me, here and now, stopping thinking, spiritual teaching, spiritual methods, are like a very logical idea for the me, how it can get rid of what seems to be making its life hell.
So, what, I mean, there's no why, but it's curious to me that these we's right here would choose to interrupt their stories with this. You know what I mean? Like,
They don't. They're not. The last thing me wants is this.
Right,
Yeah.
but,
So either it's told itself a good story
right.
about why it's good to come to this meeting, or there's something else that in some way hears this or resonates with this.
Right. So there's why. I'm not really at all.
Where would the why be?
Well, I didn't really ask the question, but you answered it. That's,
Oh, right.
you know what I mean?
There's no why.
There's no why.
So there's something else that resonates.
What's that?
Would you be willing to talk about that?
I'm willing to talk about anything. I
There's something
can.
else that resonates.
Yeah.
Because my field feels like it's vibrating as a story, but I feel different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of things can happen at a meeting like this. It's like the me is a very inconsistent thing. And it's sometimes more there and less there and sometimes not there at all. And meetings like this can sort of make it loosen up. You know, if there's a sort of, I don't know what to say, if it does. Because something else is being pointed to, which is, in a way, obvious. That's one of the things about this, is that when the me disappears or falls away, or the contraction falls away, is that what is left is, it's so obvious that it was always that way. So that what is always is, sometimes resonates with it being pointed to or talked to. But it's not anything anyone does about it. It's not something anyone could do. The last thing, literally, the last thing the separate sense of self wants to hear is that it doesn't exist. It's terrifying of it, really. Because what it means is the whole reason it thinks that all of this is going on, all the struggle that it does, is meaningless. And it is. Yay.
So maybe the talk should be life without a purpose.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's this, life without a purpose. It's exactly what this is. This is life without a purpose.
Yeah.
There's just what's happening.
You know, and there's no safety then.
No,
Right.
there's no safety. But there's no one that needs safety.
There's no danger either.
There's no danger.
Right, so.
My mind wants to be entertained. I want to know how you got to Vienna. I want to know if this is your girlfriend. I want my mind.
Well,
wants to be
what the
occupied.
me thinks is that something's going to happen that's going to help. It's called hope.
It also seems to me that the me knows what's going on, and it uses stuff like that to distract itself.
No, it doesn't. No way. No. No one knows what's going on. The fact is, the me doesn't even know it is, and that really fucks with it. The me only knows it is by remembering that it is. If it stopped remembering that it was, it isn't. Now the me is fucked from all sides. It's just running away as fast as it can, and with hope. I can figure it out. It will be better. Running away from the only thing that it really wants. It doesn't know it wants this. But this is it. This is the unconditional love. This is truly exactly what it's looking for. In reality. It, of course, can't recognize it. It really does want more money or be better or be a good person or any of those things. But in the end, this is what it's looking for, this. This is really the best thing anyone could imagine, this. It's better than anyone could imagine. It's perfect. This is perfect. And that includes the arising of an I that's looking for money and being a good person and all the rest of it. ISIS is perfect.
What's believing that the me is?
Well, nothing's believing that the me is. The me is an experience.
So why?
There just isn't a why.
Maybe not why.
Because the me is a completely impersonal arising. Nobody does it. It just happens. Apparently. There's no why in anything.
So we should just stop there. So what's keeping the experience of me happening is just what's happening. There's nothing.
Well, there's nothing keeping it happen.
There's nothing.
There's no reason for it to happen.
But it appears to be happening.
It appears to happen. There's no reason for this. There's no reason for this. There's nothing wrong with the me. The me is also exactly a part of unconditional love or what is or perfection as anything else. There's no reason for it to go. The only thing that wants me not to be there is me. Because it thinks it's going to get something. Because it thinks there's something wrong. That's the life of me.
The message says that this is a problem.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What it does, it illuminates the problems that the me makes. But a problem is not a problem for everything. A problem is not a problem for what is. A problem is just something that arises. What is unconditional love has no problem with problems.
But there's a line that says the only problem is that the me thinks such whatever.
Feels, thinks and feels, experiences that.
But it isn't a problem.
There is no problem, because there's nothing happening. Yeah. All problems are a story.
Yeah.
But there's no problem with a problem in a story, except for me.
Yeah.
Me is perfect. Me is perfect.
Yeah.
There's no need for me to disappear.
So there's no me.
That's right. But that's a concept until it's a reality.
So it's just an appearance like anything else is
Absolutely.
an appearance.
That's right. It just so happens that when it appears in a body, It makes everything else look like it's not.
Mm,
It doesn't change everything else.
Mhm.
Everything else is still what it is.
yeah. It always
It just-
takes over.
It just looks.
Yeah.
It's funny enough. As soon as the me arises in a body, suddenly everything else goes from being empty to being full. But full in the sense of meaning and purpose. Full
Yeah, yeah.
of being real
Yeah.
in a story instead of being
Full
the
blown
explosion of just nothingness
Mhm.
that's appearing to be whatever's happening.
Mhm.
Jim, there's something though, I've never heard you or Tony or others I've talked to say, my God, I wish I had that me back again. So there's gotta be something fucking better. There's something better, you know? Or no, better. But I've never heard Tony say, oh my God, you know, I'm going to teachers now, they're trying to get my me back. So, you know, it sounds really good what you were trying to say, but the part of it's getting kind of just off when you say it's just fine as it is. Right now it's all fine. It's because you're
Well,
not trying to get your me back.
But not
so
for
there might be
me.
something.
It's not fine for me.
Right.
Nothing's fine for me.
No.
And maybe a little bit. Maybe for a little while.
Yeah. Not very often. It comes and goes. But you're not going to a teacher, Tony, trying to get, you know, how can I find my me again? It went away. How can I get back to the contraction? So there's,
Yeah.
so for us sitting here or anywhere, it seems like this maybe is a,
I think you're missing a point.
yeah.
There never was.
Mm.
But what that
Yeah.
means is there isn't one there now. The me is an assumption or a feeling, psychosomatic misunderstanding that something's happening that's not happening. That this is real, that it's coming from somewhere and going somewhere. When it's recognized that that's just simply an appearance out of this, nothing happened. Because it was always that way. So there's nothing to want back.
With the recognition, you've got more freedom or less suffering.
Yeah. So now you're making it personal. There's still everything. There's still suffering. The me thinks, I know, there's no way around it, but the me thinks it knows what it's like when there's no me. Or at least, even if it knows it doesn't, it thinks it does. Or at least it has sort of ideas of what it might be like. Or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't, has no idea. Because it's already what is. It's in a way, it's immeasurably different, and it's exactly the same.
Immeasurably different part. That's why.
Yeah, but it's the immeasurably different for no one. So it's not like somebody knows anything. Like we had at the beginning of the meeting, I think we talked about that it never comes up here as something to talk about.
Yeah.
It always needs some impetus. I am utterly amazed at what comes out of these meetings. I don't know any of it. I take no responsibility. What you're talking about is getting something, and it's just it's a loss.
Right, the me falls away.
But you see what you're doing is you're saying you're going to know that, and you're going to get something out of it, and that's just not the way it is. Like I said, it's as easy as losing your keys.
What if you lost your keys and then you found them again?
Yeah, well, that's where the analogy falls apart. The analogy falls apart in wanting to try to find them.
Well, I mean, what if the key fell away and then...
Okay, so wait a second. Let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall away because it was never there.
Right, what if it was realized that it was never there?
Yeah.
You've seen it, that was the experience.
Yeah.
But then somehow it appeared.
So, how hard is it for you not to think that Santa Claus is real?
No.
When it's gone, it's just gone.
But that's not an experience.
No, you're right. Until it's gone, until it's recognized that it was never there, it goes and comes. But once it's recognized that it was never there, at the same time it's recognized that there's nowhere for it to come back to.
But that happened. And
Obviously not.
I mean, that was clear experience. That was clearly seen.
Yeah.
But it came back. I don't know.
Well, there's some misunderstanding because when it's recognized, from here, when it was recognized that it was never there, it was at the same time recognized that it couldn't come back. There'd be nowhere for it to come back to.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have that second part.
Then nobody has it.
I don't
If you talk
have
about an experience, you're talking about, for me, you're talking about something different than what seemingly happened here. Because here, it was such a non-happening that it's not like I could really identify it happening. I have sort of a vague, maybe my office, I'm not really sure. But it's sort of just like, oh. It's so unspectacular.
Shockingly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Shockingly unspectacular. Exactly the place where you'd never look.
Right. But somehow, I mean, I guess it didn't happen all the way after that.
Well, there is a sort of a me and being, so it goes and comes and goes and comes until it just doesn't come anymore. But it's not that it doesn't come anymore. It's recognized that it never was. So if it was recognized that it never was, where would it come back to? What would come back?
I would say that it would just be the thoughts were worn like a suit, you know, were put on, taken on somehow, like a mask.
But what happened, well, for me what happens is that thoughts are just something that arrive. There's nothing, the me looks for something in the thoughts, looks for something in the feelings, and that holds them, that keeps them in some sort of thing going on, because it feels like it needs to find something that it's lost. And when the me dies, that whole need disappears for there to find something. There's nothing to find because there's nothing lost.
Is there a memory of me being me?
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand what me is.
So like you can remember back to when you believed in Santa Claus. Can you remember back to when there was a me?
Me is sort of a ball of neurotic need to avoid death. You know, I mean, if you're trying to avoid death, you become fairly neurotic. There's nothing more hopeless than that. No one's gotten out yet. So the neurosis sort of falls away.
Yeah, so all these me's out there are constantly spinning their story, and they seem to want to draw you into their story. And so if a me tries to draw you, somebody like you, into their story, do they find you aloof? Or are you able...
Is it a good story?
Well, I'm just saying something bad happens, and they're constantly telling you about it, and it's like, how does somebody without a me respond? Do they seem like they don't care?
It's not like that.
Yeah.
That there's somebody without a me. Because if you're saying, so there's no one here, just like there's no one there, but no one knows that. That's just the way it is. So this is a cup, but it's also the unspeakable. But the unspeakable is not knowable. It's just what it is. And that's everything. So no one has that. No one can do anything with it. It's just the way it is. So when the me falls away, nothing changes because it was always that way anyway. This was always unspeakable and unknowable.
I guess as long as you have a me, then you can get sucked into other me stories more easily.
The me lives in a state of constant need. And that need will express itself as playing games with other people trying to get their needs met. When the me dies, that need falls away.
Yeah. You used the word, I think you said in reality or what's real, and you were talking about what the me is looking for and so on.
Yeah.
And I know that we're limited by language here, that you have to use these words about reality and so on. And even the story about the at 1.5 or 2 years old, all that stuff, none of that is what we consider to be real, right? At all. It's all made up.
Well, made up, I see for me that's a me position.
Okay.
That wants to get rid of everything and find pure bliss or something.
Yeah.
And what the reality is that everything is and isn't. Everything just is what it is. So the story of the 18 months is just a story about the 18 month. It's an explanation. It has no meaning and purpose. The story about reality is just a story about reality. It has no meaning and purpose.
And who's to say that
No.
everything is real and unreal?
No one says that. No one knows that.
So there really isn't anything to know. Obviously, no one to know it, but there really isn't anything to know.
But there's no need.